Welcome to AFK Chat, a special edition. My name's Ender. I'm here with James the Third. What are we going to be talking about today, James? Special announcement from Xbox.
Listen, business as usual as far as I'm concerned. Business as usual. The Xbox crowd can stop whining, can stop crying. Don't worry. Uncle Phil was there to calm everybody down. And I don't want to go too much into it, but I liked what they had to say.
I mean, I hope you're going to go into it. Then this would be a really boring podcast if we don't go into it.
No, right off the bat. But like my initial take from it is that I liked it. I think they did what they need to do. I do like the fact that it wasn't drawn out. Like it's funny, the podcast episode, because they did it on the Xbox official podcast. It was only 22 minutes. So it was straight.
Yeah, this was a incredibly scripted. Like it was planned. The questions were planned. The answers, in my opinion, had been gone over. Like they were told, they kind of were not necessarily told what to say, but legal and some other people were definitely involved in what they were going to announce or release in that one. It was very I just had planned. Like they knew exactly
what they were going to do, but I love the way that they did it because Tina Meany, former IGN employee, now I believe she's officially with it because she kept saying "we" a lot. So I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, she's with there. She runs, I think, their whole like podcast media kind of thing, community outreach stuff.
I like how they turn the questions into basically what the community is complaining about. Like she made it seem like she was point blank calling, Phil and Sarah Bond out and all them. And I will say this, Xbox and Microsoft are very lucky that the people in charge that are game people that do all the speaking, one, they help develop the games. They care about the games. And for those that are worried about when Phil Spencer kind of moves on and Sarah takes over, as someone that my entire job is to do presentations and talk about stuff, and the only way you can really do good at your job is if you believe what you're saying. It was clear when she was speaking, she was extremely passionate about it.
Oh yeah, I've never questioned Sarah Bond's passion for Xbox.
Which made me, as just a gaming fan, not even an Xbox fan, it made me excited for gaming because the brand and what they want to do in the future is clearly in good hands, and she totally believes everything that she's saying, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think we had our other podcast earlier where we made some predictions. I think we were half and half correct there.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little surprised, and I'll just get into it now. We know 4 games are going, and they wouldn't announce the games. I was kind of
why?
Well, it did make sense to not take thunder away from the gaming studios who have been trying to build this up. And again, I think a lot of this came out of leaks and community uproar and people on the inside saying things outside of Microsoft that they weren't ready to give this information out, but they're like, you know what, we have to respond to the rumors, and I'm not going to come here and play the trailer for all the games that are going to go on and everything from my team that has worked endless hours to get this stuff ready. I'm going to let them do their presentation.
He basically admitted that, and I like that he admitted since December they had been working on doing a show like this that was going to have all the announcements, but that wasn't until March. And the only reason they're doing this is because they need to get ahead of
June. I thought it was in June.
No,
this one was in March. You're right. The next one's in June.
The thing for the 4 games. So before we go too far into it, since he did bring up the 4 games, do you have a guess on the 4 games? Because I do.
I didn't really have a guess. I do think with how they were talking, I definitely think Sea of Thieves could be in there
100%.
Because of the community driven service based games. Also when he said games that we think our community has kind of stopped and we need to grow it more, like I think Thieves I can't say that Sea of Thieves. Yes, as one that's been around so long that I think the community has kind of dried up on it, and it's time to expand the game out. Other than that, like I didn't really dive deep. I watched this 30 minutes before we got on here, so I haven't had a lot of time to really think of like, ooh, what games would it be?
I immediately came. So I thought it was funny. If you don't know, if you didn't watch it or you did watch it, I did like the fact that, again, this is one of those questions I thought was great. Tina immediately, and this is how you know it's scripted, she immediately brought up the rumored games.
Oh yeah,
Starfield and Indiana Jones. Can you tell us if it will be?
No,
because it's so funny. He says, "I can't tell you what the 4 games are," and then her next question was, "Can you tell us if it's Starfield or Indiana Jones?" And that made me laugh because if he just said he wasn't going to say it, if it was one of those 2 games, she wouldn't be asking that question. So he confirmed that exclusives, immediate exclusives, day one exclusives, is part of the Xbox brand going forward, aside from Call of Duty and things like that. So that is going to be a thing. But the 4 games that I think they're going to be is Sea of Thieves. You got one that I totally believe. And again, Xbox crowd, if you're listening to this, 6 years old, why do you care if a game goes to another platform and grows? Like, it's great for the game.
Well, I think they bought, and you're going through that. I don't mean to cut you off there, but I think they brought up this is good, better for you. The same reasons I was bringing up in our last one. It made me laugh. Like why they were doing that.
The other game I believe that's going to be a games of service, because they mentioned multiple games of service, I believe it's Grounded.
Okay. Yeah. I could definitely see that.
The other 2 games, I do believe the other 2 games, as the way he talked about it, they clearly sound like Pentiment and
Hi-Fi Rush. Yeah, I think you're right there. I think the 4th one there as Grounded definitely makes sense, especially where he went in. Well, Hi-Fi Rush doesn't necessarily fit because is it over a year old now? Because he said they were definitely a year old.
It dropped as a surprise drop at last year's Xbox developer.
Okay, so it is a year old.
So it is a year old.
Hit that year old. Yeah. So I think that makes sense to me. I think Grounded makes sense for community driven service based games that they want to grow with, and Grounded definitely had that spike and boom. I do think it was also interesting. The one thing he did say there in the beginning multiple times is looking at the long-term health. I think the health of the business, the health of the games, the health of the creators. And I want to emphasize here because I think creator has a lot of different words, especially in our world. It's like, oh, YouTube creators are no. The creators here are the developers.
The developers.
He's talking about the game developers specifically, not like streamers, not any of that. That's not what they're looking at. It's game developers. Now they did mention, streamers in it on how they push and change the platforms on what's going to be good, what's not going to be good, who's going to be playing it, and things like that. But I think that's when they're more talking about community driven. Like that's a community and who's driving those games. The other thing that he brought up multiple times, and I think I said this before, play what you want, where you want, with who you want. Everybody wins. And that's the thing here is if you can play the games on all the platforms, whatever platform you have, it's just free marketing for Xbox. Yeah. It's free marketing for you to want to come to their platform. And that's another thing that they brought up multiple times. Now, Game Pass. There's an interesting thing said about Game Pass. I don't know if you heard it in there. Like, what do you think about Game Pass and kind of the words, especially what Matt Booty had to say about it?
You're gonna have to refresh my memory to jog me in this.
So he said, all games on Xbox. So like all games are going to be on Xbox. That's one of his things. All games on Game Pass day one.
Yeah.
And Game Pass only on Xbox. He said that. And that was really interesting.
Expanding Game Pass to other consoles.
Correct. Game Pass only on Xbox.
The reason I think right now, I do think it's a possibility that it expands. But let's be honest, Ender, at the end of the day...
they weren't talking about console, though. Is this mobile? Is this cloud gaming?
Because cloud gaming is everywhere.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if they're only talking about consoles, and he didn't specify this, but he did say Game Pass only on Xbox.
But I think when they say only on Xbox, he is talking about the Xbox platform, which includes cloud gaming, which includes, the Samsung Smart TV app, things like that. And PC Game Pass. Because what a lot of people don't understand when they talk about all the time, and people need to to realize this, if you buy an Xbox game, it is also available on your PC. But a lot of people go, well, I went to Steam and I had to rebuy it. No, it's available on the Windows Store, right? Yeah. So for free. So now a lot of games are cross-plat, so it's not a problem there. But if you want your game on Steam and you have it on Xbox, you're gonna have to rebuy it, and your saves don't. And some of the games I think they've worked out where you can transfer your save. It gets tricky on the back end for that kind of thing. But Ender, I think the biggest roadblock to Game Pass going to Nintendo or to Sony, let's be honest, at the end of the day, it's the same thing with Apple. Why do you have to go to the browser? I mean, technically, you can play Game Pass on a PlayStation. You just have to go to the browser the same way you do on your Apple phone. Now, it's cloud gaming only at that point. You're not going to download your games natively to your PlayStation, but you can play it on the browser if you go to the Xbox.com cloud.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that he did say, Game Pass only on Xbox.
Yeah,
don't those rumors can shut down.
Don't you believe the only roadblock to that is the money?
You'd have to figure out how you
if you get Game Pass subscription. Yeah, if you buy a Game Pass subscription on, say, Sony PlayStation, how much money does Sony get from all those games that they will now lose because you're not buying the game full price?
Oh, I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying that a lot of the rumors are, where does Game Pass? We were even talking about it before. Does Game Pass go here or not? They cleared that up with saying only on Xbox.
They were very I would say that's the most direct and transparent that the Xbox team has been in a while.
Yeah, but I also think that gives you a reason to want to stay within their platform. Like, your question would be, if I can buy my games everywhere, well, I don't think you're going to get every game on every single thing. I think there's going to be the large games, Call of Duty. Like, I think they mentioned Call of Duty. I think that Call of Duty is one of those games where it's going to be like
Call of Duty and Minecraft
are going to be everywhere. Like, you're going to be able to play them on whatever you want because it's community-based driven. They're large games. They want you to have fun with those. But I think, like, a very specific indie developer that made one on the Xbox platform, it's probably going to stay on the Xbox platform, be exclusive there, and they'll run, because exclusivity on the Xbox platform means I get mobile and I get PC. the PC. Like, I get those right in. I did like the announcement from Sarah Bond on Diablo 4.
Yeah, so how about that? That's quicker than we thought.
March 28th. So
the Activision Blizzard games come over. That's really fast.
I bet that was the day they were going to hold the event.
Correct. Yeah,
they said in March. So the fact that they have, they would just. I think March 27th was the date they were going to do it, and it would be either the next day or live today. Like, one of the 2 days. It was the 27th or 28th. They were actually going to do this. So they knew that date on Game Pass. So that threw me right into, like, Call of Duty on Game Pass. Like, that's going to be a thing. Like, it's going to happen. That means
it's coming sooner than we think.
Yeah, it's going to happen. What else did I have? I wrote a bunch of stuff down here from it. There's one big key thing. Anything else?
I do want to, as you're looking, I want to point out the fact that they've been kind of quiet behind the scenes, and I don't know if it has to do with Nintendo and the Pokemon Company, but they gave big shout out to Palworld, announcing that it's the largest third-party launch, and they like to point out that they were able to do that because they offer these creators, these developers, multiple ways to they get to decide where they want their game. Is it an early access? So put it in the game preview program. Do you want it to be on Game Pass and exclusive? Then we'll put it in Game Pass. Do you want it to make sure that you just want it to be a full price game so you can put it on our ecosystem?
Yeah. So
these guys so many options.
So right before that, they said something. I didn't think about this until I want to say it was Phil Spencer
thing, because he flexed something real big in this.
Well, I don't know if this is the exact same one, but this was when Phil Spencer said, like, with the Activision acquisition,
what I'm thinking.
We're the largest publisher on PlayStation, Nintendo, and mobile. Like,
first of all, Ender, how
he's wanted to say that for a while.
How long has he wanted to say that?
He had to prove it. They needed to get the numbers, so they needed to wait until the numbers came in.
Talk about just a dagger. And when you talk about a diehard Sony fan to have to sit there and go, no, your games are not bigger. You have some games that are better, but Xbox is now the largest publisher on competing. I mean, but you talked about this in our last episode where you said that's where Big Phil wants to come in swinging left and right. Going,
I mean, like, what are you going to do there? Sony's always been the big boy. They've always had all of these things. They've always been above them, but this acquisition, this pushes them into a new world. Xbox is no longer When it comes to publishers, the bottom. They went to the top. Now, do they have the ability to maintain that? This was an acquisition.
Yeah.
This means I bought my number one spot. Okay. Now you have to keep the number one spot with being able to deliver the games, being able to push these studios beyond the limit of what they're doing today to keep it going. You can't just buy number one and stay there the whole time. Like they have to push and have to keep going for that. So yeah, that was the other one there. I also liked where he said, and this is I think a point that I want to bring up, and I really truly believe in business is the right way to take Xbox. And this is where I wasn't. I looked up on YouTube all these people saying, "Oh, it's over. This announcement's over. Xbox is over." And I'm like, that's clickbait, guys. Like you can't, you couldn't have listened to this and truly believe that it's over. When Phil Spencer says this, we had two choices. We could take our current player base and figure out new ways to monetize them. So that means I am going to like microtransaction the hell out of the current player base I have. Or I could find a way to make more people come to my platform. And that's how I'm going to win. So in his mind, he's taking the latter of the two. I'm not going to microtransaction you. I'm going to put the games where you are, and I'm going to let Gears of War stand on its own. I'm going to let whatever stand on its own.
But you know what's great about let's I want to jump into Halo and Gears of War for a second, because immediately a lot of people are like, wait, maybe one of those 4 games is Halo.
No.
First of all, think of it this way.
It'd be awesome. Not yet.
I'm the other side, Ender. I believe that within the next year, Halo will be on PlayStation.
I'm saying not one of the 4 starters.
No, not one of the 4 starters. Yeah. Now, the reason I think that it's a great idea, when he talks about the future, even Matt Booty kind of mentioned the future may not be necessarily exclusives, but right now exclusives are king. Now, again, as an Xbox person, you let's talk about the diehard fanatics here, the crazies that are going to freak out. Oh my God, if Halo goes to PlayStation, it's over. No, it's not. Listen to what can happen. You finally put Halo on PlayStation. Maybe you put the Master Chief Collection, you put Halo Infinite on there, and 2 months later, guess what launches? The new Halo, the new Gears of War. And guess where you can only play that? On Game Pass?
Yep.
Or on an Xbox console. So now you're getting people that are going to jump over to the others because they got to experience. And for those that are going to freak out and say, well, I don't think that it's fair that they get what's fair got to do. Why are you so upset about how the original Halo came out in 2000? Are you really that upset that 25 years later it showed up on the PlayStation console? So
I mean,
a whole nother player base gets to experience that story.
Yes, they are. Like the micro world. The micro world is the ones that are out there that want to get clicks. They want to not be. And I don't look at you as a gamer. You're not. You are a fan of a specific thing. You're not a fan.
Well, you've aligned as a creator. You've aligned yourself with that brand, and you're going to push.
But here's the thing. And I'll take this to sports, because we talk about that a lot, and how like, oh, I want to see this team win. I don't want to see this team win. But when it comes down to it, both of us look at it like, I'd rather watch a good game.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a fan. I don't care who won the Super Bowl, but it ended in a great game.
Yeah.
Like, as a fan of the sport, I can sit there and watch that and be like, man, this is awesome. Like, the end of that game is awesome. The first quarter, I fell asleep. The end was amazing.
First half was pretty brutal.
Yeah. But as a fan, you can watch that
into a second half.
You can watch that and you can enjoy what's going on. I just look at all the other people out there looking at it like, this is a terrible game. I can't believe this happened. I know I'm watching it just because I have to. I can't believe all of this. Like, no, it was an amazing game. I don't have to like everything that's going on. I don't have to agree with everything going on. I could just say, this is good for my community as a sporting community. This is good for a community as a gaming community, because I'm forcing all of these other CEOs to rethink how they're doing things and what they're going to do next. So yeah, throw all those people away. I don't really care about them. I did have written down the Pal World thing. I think that's awesome. I did like the fact that Phil mentioned, like, we had layoffs. We didn't have growth.
They did not hide. I was shocked. At first, I thought that Tina's question was that she was just gonna point blank say it. And then I was like, oh yeah, that wouldn't be smart. He's not going to address that. And then in his answer, he's point blank. He did not. And that's what I like about this Ender is I don't feel like they hid behind anything. I feel like like I said, it's the first time I would say in the last 2 or 3 years that they have been overly transparent more than they whatever.
That's why I think it was more planned than normal, because they wanted to be transparent. They needed to be transparent, and they needed to have the words ready to say. And in ways that came off right, because if you put people on the spot with certain questions like that, especially with layoffs and all of the really business related questions, like when you're talking about games and what the studios are, you can kind of fly from the cuff. Like you can be a fan, he can do that, but this is the business. This is how I'm going to drive it. This is how we're going to make money. These are people's lives. And he even said there, like, I want Xbox to be a place people can put their careers in again.
Yep.
Like, I don't want this to happen. I don't want to have these layoffs because we didn't grow. So this is how I believe we are going to grow. And the other part that I liked is the hardware and the platform makes the games bigger in the past. That's not how it works anymore. The games make the platforms bigger.
Yeah.
So we have to be accommodating to the guys that are developing the games to be able to expand that. And it may not have been big to you, but there was one huge announcement in there that I think definitely makes Xbox platform the place for new developers to go. Did you hear it? It was from Sarah. She mentioned it, and it was super brief, but I think it was the biggest thing that we could take from it.
What did she say?
The hardware portion of it is the best to build on for our specs. So our hardware and our games are going to be the best. But if you invest in us, we've already invested getting your games in other places. So if you build to the Xbox specs, your game will work on PC. Your game will work on mobile. Your game will work wherever else we decide to put your games in our expansion, because you built to our specs. That is huge. Porting games is one of the biggest problems on getting them into different platforms.
I mean, look at if a prime example is I have never had a PlayStation. I was so excited to play The Last of Us, and it was so bad that I couldn't get through the first hour because of the port, not because of Naughty Dog. They didn't port it. It's not necessarily their fault.
But Xbox,
but it was bad.
She said
Spider-Man was bad for the first year.
She said there, our hardware is the best build specs. Like, our hardware is going to be there. That's why you continue to have Xbox. Your immersive experience is going to be with us. It's going to be the best experience if you use our hardware. But we are investing in making sure that our specs meet everybody else's. That way, as we expand, you expand. And the amount of money that takes for a small developer to have a game that where they walk in and say, you know what, I'm on 3 platforms right out the door.
Yeah,
I mean, out the door, I'm cloud computing.
Is already investing in Pocket Pair because Pocket Pair was like, hey, whoa, this thing blew up more than we were ready for, and we can't handle this with servers. And Microsoft immediately, because they decided to go with them, they're in the, and I don't think that Phil and the Microsoft team have any desire to buy Pocket Pair. I don't think that's what you're going to see out of this. But the fact that Pocket Pair is getting the support and their game is everywhere. Yeah. I mean, they're getting server support and their game is on Steam.
Yeah,
and Microsoft's
they don't care.
Still helping them out with that. They don't care. They just want to help.
Because if that community grows, the game grows, then they grow. Because people are going to want to play with their friends. And again, they said it. I want to play games where my friends are. And what was the 2 things? He was like, the hardware that I have, where my friends play, and my library drives what I do.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is. And if you look at it, it's like, I have the most games on PlayStation. I'm going to keep buying a PlayStation. If I have it on Xbox, I'm there. But if Xbox is just going to put my game on 3 different platforms, Well, I'm just going to go there because regardless of what thing my friend has, Xbox is still going to be able to do it.
You know, the one thing I've always said over the years, the reason that I have always had an Xbox, now it's not as relevant, but for a while, Xbox had the best party chat system. You know,
their
Discord
online play was hands down.
Their online play was better. Their party chat system was better. Now both platforms, I believe, you can get on Discord, which is what most people use. I think Sony technically owns Discord now.
Yeah, it was weird on Xbox, but they finally like made it work now.
Yeah. So, but it works on, so that kind of eliminated the party chat side of it. But for a while, that was the reason. And the thing that makes me laugh about some of my friends that are diehard Sony fans, is that they don't even play the Sony first party exclusives.
No.
And it's like, okay, so why are you there?
So there's a lot of things that you could say. Is one, you feel that the Sony hardware runs the game better. Like it visually is better. I think there's been times where Sony was way ahead of that.
Correct. Yeah.
I also believe in the early days, I don't think so now as much. The controllers were so much better on Sony than Xbox. Xbox's giant fucking controllers that they had that you couldn't control. Yeah. Now the ergonomics of the controller, I personally like the Xbox one better than the PlayStation, because I don't think PlayStation's changed at all. It's the same controller every year. They just stick a new thing in the middle and call it something. Yeah. It's not a new design. Now I think if you're like competitive player like Scump or any of those guys, and the PlayStation controller leads to being able to use the claw grip better. Well, no one's doing, like, half of us don't know how to do that.
Exactly.
So if you want it for that reason, that's fine, but I can just do whatever I want.
You can also get a PlayStation style controller that works on your Xbox now too.
Sure.
And vice versa.
I mean, you can get whatever you want. The third party markets make anything that you are going to want it to be. But again, the growth is what matters. Growth is going to keep people from getting laid off. Growth is going to make new games. Growth is going to bring competition. Competition brings us better stuff, and that's all.
You know what I like, and I hope the exclusivity doesn't change too much going forward, because the way that Xbox has decided to do their business and being the publisher that they are, and like you said, come to us, invest in us with your game as a creator and a developer, and your game goes to multiple places, versus choosing as a third party to maybe start with PlayStation like some of them do. The reason it's going to start getting appealing it is because your game goes to multiple places, and you only have to buy it once on Xbox too, which drives more people. But the thing that I like where it's going to stand is that I was worried about whatever Microsoft announced today, that there's not going to have competition, which prevents growth and prevents, multiple stuff. In my opinion, with the way that Xbox is going to go forward, the greatest thing that comes out of this, now Nintendo's in its own bracket, it makes its own style of games, it's its thing, but Microsoft and Sony are very similar with some of their games that they make. If Sony does not continue to bring out bangers, and they're all great, The Last of Us, God of War games, the Spider-Man games, phenomenal. A big hit to Sony fans this year because they did.
How many of those were first person? I
know, but my point is
Sony actually
their
made
games, no first party games coming from Sony this year, but their games, when they do a first party game, are phenomenal.
That's true.
They are good. Now, because of the way that Xbox is going to be doing business going forward, the only reason that you would have to continue to keep getting a Sony console is if those games continue to be bangers, and they have to be, which I think that's what I was worried about. But now I'm not worried about that now, because that competition is going to be fierce. In a good, I think, in a healthy way, right? Because it forces Sony and those studios to take their games seriously, and not going to worried about, they're not going to put out crappy games, because if they start putting out a line of crappy games, they could fall.
Yeah, I think all it does is really, it makes the studios have to start competing for the third party games again, and it makes them have to raise the bar in their first party developments to make those third parties want to be there.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think that's funny, Ender, is that there's more pressure on Sony's first party studios than there are on Xbox's first party studios, because of what Big Daddy Phil said. They're the largest publisher on Nintendo and PlayStation already.
But it was bought.
So those games are good.
So for him to follow that up in the next 10 years, the next 20 years, he has to be able to bring it. Like, I bought
those games still, but I'm saying
Activision as a third party made me that. Correct. Not
those multi-platform games are.
I don't see anybody jumping out the window to play Halo right now.
Listen, I'm saying that the multi-platform games are more important to be good than almost than the ones that are exclusive for Xbox
right now, because their first party are shit. Like, let's call it what it is. They're nothing for the studio right now. They had to buy their way to be that. So
I mean,
I'm
they
gonna give
all
them
had to
5
buy their
years.
way.
No, they didn't. They built it up, and they let the third party games be better. Halo could be better. PlayStation could have made a better battle royale out there, or so, if they put the money into it. Microsoft could have made a better game. They let these studios come in and do that because exactly of what I think Phil Spencer thought, and he doesn't think that anymore, is that, oh, the platform will drive this community. They will drive, the Xbox hardware will drive this community. And no, the acquisition of Activision was because he believes the games are going to drive you to my community. That's how I'm going to get you there. And I need the best of the best. I need the best studios. And I bought them. I couldn't beat them, so I bought them. That's fine. Yeah. That's a way to play the game. Everyone can play that game.
Yeah. I mean, everyone thought the game was great until the side with the most money decided to actually put their wallet into it.
Yeah. And it's funny because sometimes you have to make a gamble with your pocketbook. You have to make a gamble with your money and push forward. Yeah. Well, anyway, that being said, so I think that's everything that we needed to cover for that. Again, I think Xbox is in a unique place to decide their own destiny. They could, this could be wonderful. This could be horrible. We don't know. I want to say I was right. It was a test bed. They're only testing a couple of games. They made that kind of clear in how they were talking about it. But the passion behind these people that are at the top definitely makes me feel confident around this. They're doing it for the community. They're doing it for the future growth of the company. Phil Spencer is worried about 20 years from now, not tomorrow.
Correct.
I'm investing today from 20 years from now, not what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's really the only way for those guys to look. It's really the only way to make sure you're growing. So anyway, that's been AFK Chat. This is a special edition for the business. I don't even know what they're calling it. Xbox business update in March or February. That should have been in March.
Yeah.
Thank you all. My name's Ender. The guy over there, for some reason, wearing a jacket today is James. Try to look all fancy for the business.
I look fancy.
I let it go this whole time until right now. Like,
yeah, listen, I had my actual job I had to do before this. So
yeah. So anyway, have a great night. We'll talk to you later.